Welcome to the FightWrite podcast, a writer's resource for writing fight scenes. I'm your host, Carla Hoke. First things first, check out my book, FightWrite, How to Write Believable Fight Scenes with Writer's Digest. It's available at bookstores everywhere and online, y'all. It is so early. Listen to my voice. I'm hearing my voice. It sounds like I have been out all night partying, but I haven't. I just got up early. I couldn't sleep, and I'm an early bird, to be quite honest. Anyhow, that's why I sound like this, and y'all are going to hear me throwing back coffee. If you are near a big Barnes& and Noble, my book should be on a special display. Super easy to find until September. It is super chock full of info. If you've bought it, please leave a review. So far, the reviews are great. I'm super grateful to all of you for giving it a look. More often than not, the reviews highlight what tends to surprise people about the book, and that is it's not just about throwing hands. Because guess what? Fighting isn't just about a physical altercation, especially for writers. Fighting on and off the page is also about physical and emotional sensations, which I have two whole sections on. One section is biological and emotional factors in fighting, and another section is on injuries. For example, why is your character more likely to suffer PTSD after stabbing someone than shooting them? It is in the book. All right, until you get the book, or even if you have it, check out my blog at FightWrite.net. Go to the index and snoop around. If you're in the New York City area, August 22 through 25, come see me at the Writer's Digest National Conference. It's coming up, y'all. You can still register. Use the code, what is that code? WD Speaker 19, $50 off. The keynotes for that are Karen Slaughter, N.K. Jemison, and Min Jin Lee. My classes are both on Saturday, back to back glory. So bring a protein bar, a bottle of water, and just grab yourself a seat. Oh, what else? If you'd like a FightWrite podcast shirt or anything fighty-righty, go to Etsy and put FightWrite, one word, into the search, or go to the Etsy store right around the corner, one word, for not only FightWrite, but just fun writer stuff. A couple weeks back, I had the privilege of attending the Railmakers Writers Conference. If you are a writer of speculative fiction, give them a look. They are a great resource. Spec fic is the big umbrella term for sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal, steampunk, all that super cool stuff. Okay, at that conference, I had one-on-one mentor appointments with authors, and I helped them work out issues with their fight scenes. And every now and then, one of them would catch me at a meal or just hanging out, which, by the way, that's one of the really, really cool things about this conference that you don't get at every conference. The speakers, the keynote speaker, the special guest this year, the special guest was the author of the Shannara Chronicles. I thought it was Shannara Chronicles, but it's not Shannara, according to the author. Shannara Chronicles. We all have meals with the writers. So if you want to sit down and pick, the brain of Terry Brooks or Bob Liparulo or Tosca Lee, you can do that. And so every now and then during a meal, a writer would ask me something. Or in the case of John K. Patterson, he caught me after my book signing. He posed a very interesting question. In his work in progress, he has several, it's early, he's got a couple characters facing 3 velociraptors, and he wanted to know how his character should handle that. Now, y'all, can I just stop right here and say that I have the best job in the world? This sort of conversation is just normal, everyday stuff at Railmakers. Okay, John, with your friendly face. He does have the friendliest face, so help me. I looked a little deeper into your issue. I stand by what I told you at the conference, though, John. Do not spare bullets. When you're staring down velociraptors, sparing bullets is the last thing on your mind. First, I love me some dinosaurs. How can you not love dinosaurs? To my surprise, I found out that the dinosaurs touted in the documentary Jurassic Park as velociraptors, they're actually Deinonychus. Yeah, I said documentary because that stuff's going to happen. or has. There's an island out there with dinosaurs on it. Don't tell me that's not happening. A velociraptor is actually, okay, in the movie, what they call a velociraptor, Deinonychus, is actually more like 6 feet tall. But an actual velociraptor is about 3 feet tall, 6 feet long nose to the tip of the tail, and it weighed a little over 30 pounds. So it's more like a vicious toddler with a long tail and probably feathers. They think that Velociraptor probably had feathers. So for the scene which John was needing help for, I got two choices here. We can figure out how to fight an actual Velociraptor, or to figure out how to fight what most folks think is a Velociraptor thanks to Jurassic Park. I'm going to do both because I believe in the bagel heads method. When I was a school teacher in Navarre, Florida, I took a summer job at a bagel shop called, you guessed it, Bagel Heads. It's in Pensacola, Florida. Go visit it. They had us load on a ton of cream cheese. People sometimes complained about how much cream cheese was on their bagel, which, first of all, get over yourself, okay? It's cream cheese. How are you going to complain about there being too much cream cheese? The owners of Bagel Heads had us load on that cream cheese because you can always remove a bit of too much, but you can't add what you don't have. So I'm going to Bagel Head this thing. Also, I like to focus on besting a combatant rather than beating it, because my feeling, and this is in the book, if you walk away from something to fight another day, that's as good as a win for me. So we are going to best this dinosaur. If you want to beat it, I'll tell you that too, but okay, I'll get to that. Okay, actual Velociraptor, despite its size, was a predator. Remember, it's only about 3 feet tall, and tip of nose to tip of tail is about 6 feet. Don't discount the deadliness of little things, people. A small dragon will burn down a village all the same. And yes, Velociraptor did have a toe claw, as it was shown in Jurassic Park, but it probably didn't use it so much to eviscerate as to pin I don't know, prey. Is that the word I'm looking for? Also, it didn't hunt in packs, most likely, and it probably wasn't too terribly smart, but those little suckers were fast, likely between 10 and 20 miles per hour, which this is interesting. I wondered how they figured out how fast they were. What they did is they take the bone measurements and they compare it to how... Well, hey, kitty. Hey, girl. Cat's got an opinion early. She's always got an opinion. What? What? Well, I told you not to. Okay, they compare it to bird legs and how fast birds run. So that's how... Baby. What? I know it's early. We've all got opinions. Compare it to how quickly birds run. Anyway, so that's how they figured out it's somewhere between 10 to 20 miles per hour, which is really fast. So here's the situation. We're fighting a toddler in a feathered alligator suit that is darting around like a Jack Russell Terrier, which Jack Russells are actually faster than that, but I'm trying to paint a mental picture for you. If you put your tail in my coffee, we're going to have a problem, Dottie. Okay. Sorry, that's my personal assistant, my cat, who's the worst personal assistant ever because I basically wait on her. Okay, so we're facing now this Velociraptor. It's likely alone, and best we can tell, it's not terribly smart, so it's not coming with a gang, and it's not going to set a trap for your character or lure them in with trickery or dinosaur chicanery. That's a great word, chicanery. Okay, how... Oh my gosh, cat! She's trying to knock a lamp off the desk. How does your character combat that sort of creature? Okay, obviously they can shoot it. But shooting something that's small and darting around isn't terribly easy. If your character does find himself in that situation, a shotgun is probably best. So if your character's got a Velociraptor bearing down on him, it's a great idea to give them a shotgun. If you don't know what a shotgun does, it blows out a bunch of pellets. And that's a crude explanation, but that's basically what it is. You are more likely to hit the animal with a shotgun. Think about throwing a handful of rocks versus just one. Obviously, you could also use a machine gun, but that's a lot of ammo wasted. Well, it's not wasted. I'm just saying it's a lot of ammo to use on a small creature. And honestly, I bet just the gun report of any kind of gun you happen to have would scare it off. If your character happens to miss or does not have a firearm, and that velociraptor, that angry little toddler, keeps bearing down on them. Now, I'm not calling it a toddler because it's not a formidable foe, which toddlers are. Trust me, I had my share. I got to get water. Hold on. I normally get a straw for my cup, but like I said, it's early and my cat has a lot of opinions this morning. All right, you want your character to keep just to not walk backward. You want them to circle, and you want them to just shoot and shoot and shoot. I know I said if they don't have a gun, but here's the thing: if they do have a gun, this is not the time to conserve ammo. Okay, you want them to circle. You don't want them to walk backward. If the velociraptor jumps at your character, which from their build I would imagine that they are hardy little jumpers, your character could just push kick the thing back. Actually, sidestepping would be the best thing to do. Worst case scenario, you could do it. Your character could do an outside block with their arm. In Karate Kid, I think that's wax on. In Karate Kid, it's wax on. You circle your hand to the outside of your body and be sure that the top of the arm of your character is facing the velociraptor, not the underside of your arm. Not that I think you have to write that necessarily, but you need to know it. And it might be handy to know if you want to introduce some, wrinkles in the story. But you want the top of their arm versus the underside of that arm because you want to keep that claw from puncturing the vein network. I'm thinking, and you know what? I bet that claw might get stuck in the arm. It might go through the bones of the arm and hook your character. You know what? I would try very hard not to let that beast get that close. But again, if it jumps, first line of defense, and you don't have a firearm, and I'll talk about a knife in a minute. First defense is to just sidestep. Second is to push kick the thing. You could kick, but I would prefer to use the bottom of the foot versus the toe of the foot. And you can also outside block. All right, now let's throw a knife in the scenario. Let's say your character doesn't have a gun, they just have a knife. I would hold the knife in a traditional grip. That's where it's straight out, not like Psycho Ice Picky. By the way, if your character is going to hold it, anytime that character is going to hold a knife in a reverse grip or an ice pick style, you want the edge. If you haven't been listening to my podcast, an edge of the blade is the sharp, cutty portion. It's the business side of the blade. If it's only a single edge blade, you want that sharpened edge facing the world, not inside toward your body. If it's inside toward your body, then you only have that little triangle between that little triangle of the edge down to your elbow and up your forearm. That's deadly. Whereas if you face the edge out to the outside world, well, you've got a lot more room that you can just be cutting. Have them hold it in a traditional grip because you'll get a little bit more reach that way. Circle, don't walk backward. And when the velociraptor comes at your character, have them sidestep and then slash. The reason I say sidestep, and I said that earlier, is because those claws are going to be coming. Don't knock that lamp off. I'm so professional. Okay, you want it to get out of the way of that little toe claw that the velociraptor has. And I say slash rather than stab in this situation. In the last couple podcasts I talked about how stabbing is often a better idea than slashing in close quarters. But in this situation, I'm going to say slash. because, well, this isn't even close quarters. This could be kind of be out in the open where you have a lot of room. Anyway, I say slash because you don't have to be as accurate. And I would go for whatever part of the body of that little critter as I could. If you could hit the neck, it doesn't look like it has a hardy neck, kind of like a turkey. You have an angry, toothy clawed turkey coming at you. You do not need to cut the head off of this thing. You do not need to do a huge ton of damage. All you need to do is injure the velociraptor enough to slow it down so that you can get away. If it is injured, I honestly, unless your character has some personal interest or some, I don't know, aggression issues and it needs to kill this thing, that's one thing, but I would just go away. You know, if you've slowed it down enough, just best it. Don't worry about beating it. Now, let's say there's more than one velociraptor. Let's say there's 5. That's a lot. Okay, now you don't, this is, once you get to where there's more than 2, yeah, in this case, I'd say more than 2, you don't circle anymore. When you have a larger group of them, you want to walk backward. You're going to have to glance over your shoulder, obviously, but you want to walk backward because you want to bottleneck the group or pack. What do you even call a bunch of velociraptors? Pack doesn't do it. A congregation, a conflagration, a shite. We can call a group of velociraptors a shite because if I turned around and saw a group of velociraptors, tiny as they are, I would say that's a shite fold. Shite fold. There's our word. We have a whole shite fold of velociraptors coming after the character. That character needs to walk backward to try to bottleneck them and then shoot, 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 shoot. It is not time to conserve bullets. If you don't actually, shotgun is better. You might hit more than one at a time. And hopefully just the sound of it will scare at least one of them off, but they need to walk backwards. They need to keep one eye on that shite fold of velociraptors and look over their shoulder for if they don't have a gun or if they've run out of bullets, they need to look for a body of water to go into or a tree to climb. Now, can a shite fold of velociraptors swim after you? From their build, I would doubt it. Now, are you going to meet with another host of problems in the water? Yes, but first, one thing at a time. We got to get away from this shite fold. They also, from their construction, don't look like they'd be hardy tree climbers. So get into a body of water, get up a tree. If you have, or you know what? You could also go near a larger predator. Now that might make the shite fold disperse. I'm going to have to write that word down and frame it. I need to make a shirt. If you got a shite fold of velociraptors, now's not the time to conserve bullets. If you go near that larger predator, that make the velociraptors disperse. Now, you do have to then deal with the larger predator, but one thing at a time. If you have a group of characters facing one velociraptor and they don't have guns, I would have the group of characters circle the velociraptor and then descend on it. But your group needs to know who is, if they do have weapons, your group needs to know who is using what weapons. I find it problematic when you have a group of characters in a circle shooting at something. That's probably not the best way to handle a situation. You need to know your characters need to know who's holding what weapon, and you can't just have them all circle it and start shooting. And if they do want to stab, you need to know who's going to be stabbing. Everybody can't jump in and start stabbing at the same time. What I would do is I would have one person. The last time me and my friends had to deal with Velociraptor, we circled it and I distracted it while another came up behind it and grabbed it by the neck. And you know what? Their necks don't look terribly hardy. I would imagine that you could just crush the thing's throat. Now, if the Velociraptor you are thinking of is actually more like Deinonychus. What? How much time do I have? 20 minutes? I'll be dipped. All right, that's an actual Deinonychus is a whole different thing. Am I going to make this one or two podcasts? I said that I would address, I'm going to have to do two. I will address it in the next podcast because I'm really, really trying to keep these short. Okay, now what did we learn here today? First, we learned that the Jurassic Park documentary is inaccurate. Steven Spielberg, nope, you know what? Michael Crichton. Let's just go ahead and blame the writer. Michael Crichton, what he told us was a velociraptor is actually Deinonychus. A velociraptor is about 3 feet tall, about 6 feet long, and weighed about 30 pounds. It didn't hunt in packs, and it wasn't terribly smart, but it was fast. If your character finds himself in a situation of staring down a little velociraptor, a shotgun is a good bet. If your character shoots and misses and the velociraptor keeps coming, don't let the character walk backward. Have them circle and shoot and shoot and shoot. If the velociraptor jumps at your character, and the character doesn't get a shot in or for some reason can't shoot, first line of defense is to get out of the way of the thing because it's got that little toe claw, which it likely used to pin its prey to the ground more than eviscerate it. Not saying it couldn't, but the fact is it has got that nasty little claw and you want to get out of the way. So number one, sidestep. Number two, you have the option of push kicking it. And you can also do an outside block with your arm. That is absolutely the last thing I would do. But if it's coming at you and you need it to protect yourself, well, outside block and use the back of the arm. Let's throw a knife in the scenario. If you have a knife, circle with the velociraptor. If it comes in at your character, have them again sidestep and slash as the velociraptor goes by. Remember, your character does not have to kill the thing. All it has to do is injure it enough to slow it down so that your character can get away. If your character is overwhelmed, he can always put a buffer between himself and the dinosaur. Bush, tree, boulder. Something to slow down action, and that's something for you as well. If you need to slow down the action in some way, just put a buffer between the creature and your character. If your character has a whole shite fold of velociraptors coming after them, they need to walk backward to create a bottleneck of the creatures. You don't want the creatures to surround the character. If your character doesn't have a gun, they need to keep one eye on that shite fold and then look over their shoulder as they go backward and look for a body of water or a tree or a buffer or perhaps a larger predator. If you have a group of characters facing one velociraptor and they don't have guns, have the group circle it and then descend on it. One person distract while another comes up and grabs the sucker by the neck. Probably could crush his throat and probably could stomp it to death. If the velociraptor you are thinking of is actually Deinonychus, that is a whole different podcast. And that's exactly what I'll do. I'll address it in the very next podcast. I think we did a lot of good here today. That's it for this episode of the FightWrite podcast. Don't forget to check out my book, FightWrite, How to Write Believable Fight Scenes, out now with Writer's Digest. If you are in the New York City area, August 22nd through the 25th, come see me at the Writer's Digest National Conference. You can still register for it, and a discount code for you is WDSpeaker19. That will get you $50 off. My classes are back to back on the 24th, I'm pretty sure. The first class is a quick and dirty guide to writing fight scenes, and the second is a tactical class about the mechanics of fighting. I'll be running from one to the other. Feel free to run with me. Also, check out my blog, FightWrite.net, and for cool FightWrite swag and other cool writer shirts, go to Right Around the Corner on Etsy. That's it for this FightWrite podcast. Until the next round, get blood on your pages.